Speckles crafting channel here. Today we're going to make this card. It's your birthday, and it's going to include some stenciling, some ombre coloring, and the new Journey color from Close to My Heart. First of all, I want to show you the items that we'll be using to create this card. This stamp set is part of the National Stamping Month special, and it's called It's Your Birthday. The stamp and thin cuts are included. And off camera, I have already done some of the thin cuts that we're going to need for this card. We're going to use the new Journey ink and also our intense black ink. And we want to use the intense black because this is a little bit of watercolor and we don't want the ink to bleed. I also have here the Journey dots, which match perfectly with the cardstock, the ink color, and we're going to use the Journey shimmer brush along with a clear shimmer brush. And then finally, we're going to use from our Essentials catalog, Stencil Pack number 2. And let me see if I can make this so you can see these stencils a little bit better. Here is this stencil. It's palm leaves or fronds, which is really fun. These are in the slimline size. And this is kind of a florally flourish one. And then from that same pack is the one we're going to use today, which is this diamond one right here. So I'm going to move these things out of the way here so we don't get ink everywhere. And I'm going to start with my stamping because I want this intense black ink to have a chance to really dry well before we start the coloring process. So I've pre-cut that with my die cut machine, and now I'm going to ink up my stamp really well, and it's looking pretty inky. And then go ahead and match it up to that die cut and let that ink soak in really well, and hopefully it's not too blobby. My ink pad seems a little over inked, but I think that turned out pretty good and pretty well matched up. I'm going to set that aside now, and then we are going to move on to doing some stenciling. Now, Close to My Heart has a workshop that comes with this stamp set. I chose not to get the stencils because I had stencils in my stash or that I had newly purchased. And so I wanted to try doing these with the stencils that I had. I will show you at the end the card that was my inspiration for this so you can. Now, if you wanted, you could also put some Post-it or adhesive across here. Let's just pull this out to keep from going off the edge. And I'm going to kind of create, as you can see, it's almost this optical illusion. It's an ombre effect going off into the background, which is really fun. To start with, I've got my blending brush from Close to My Heart, and I have my Journey ink pad. And then I also want to use this as a place to stamp off. That's why I brought in this scratch paper, because the ink is going to start out really dark as I dip it into my ink pad. And remember, I want it darker at the bottom and then lighter, kind of fading up toward the top. So I'm going to start in this bottom left-hand corner, and I'm just gently rubbing the ink along the edge. And then as the ink is kind of disappearing or getting lighter, I'm just going to bring it all the way up to the top here. And we'll repeat that multiple times. Again, starting at the bottom and then moving that ink up at the top. And I have my stencil pretty secure here. So it's pretty easy to move this ink along. I'm holding it with my fingers, plus I have the Post-it tape. And then I'm just gonna add some more up here to the top. And then in the final, I'm just gonna kind of go across the bottom here and create more of a darker look across the bottom here. So what I can do here is pull off this tape and then just lift this up slightly and see how I like that. And I am going to move this up just a hair and realign this the best that I can, because I'm not happy on the one I did earlier. I didn't have this solid line across there. So I'm going to see if I can recreate this with just a light color and soften that edge. If I can't, no big deal. I think it will turn out really well anyway. Take some of that off. But I just kind of wanted to see if I could do that. Some of that line is going to be behind my... I'm not as happy with that as I hope to be. Luckily, there's two sides to every piece of paper. So let's try this again. Okay, there we go. I really like how that kind of fades off a little bit more in an ombre look than that earlier one that I did on the back side. Doesn't have the line like before. Not a lot of difference, and really I could have lived with both, but I thought I'd just show you how you can create that a little bit differently. Let's move this scratch paper out of the way. Let's gonna move my stencil out of the way. And then I'm gonna let this sit over here to the side. And now I'm gonna show you how I did the coloring of this to get the ombre look that you see here. I did try using my tri-blend markers, but I couldn't find the right shade for what I wanted to do. And I knew that we had exactly, I could get the right color by using the Journey ink and the watercolor brush, but I also wanted to try and see how it would work with the Journey shimmer brush. And I knew that was going to be the exact same. So what I did here is I just took one of my blocks. Let's move that one out of the way because we don't need it. And I just put a little bit, squeezing just lightly, a little bit of Journey shimmer brush share. And then I'm going to just try to squeeze a little drop in here. This is a little bit damp from last night when or dry from last night when I did this. But I'm happy with just adding a little bit of water with my spritz sprayer here to loosen up that ink. And let's dry that off really quick so I don't get wet on my card. That was a pretty risky move, wasn't it? Okay, there we go. And then I took my fine point water brush and started with it and dipped it a little bit in the dark that's not mixed up. And then this here in the middle is mixed with some clear shimmer brush just to lighten the color up a bit. But I want to start with this dark across the bottom. And I just went across the bottom here. I do have a little bit of water also in my shimmer brush. And I just used my darker color to come across the bottom. I'm going to add a tiny bit more of that dark across the bottom. And then I picked up a little bit of that lighter color and mixed that in. And then I just kind of ombreed through and came up with my color, mixing and adding color to get kind of a nice ombre look here. And then before I move on to my next letter, I'm going to actually take the shimmer brush itself while this is still wet and do a very fine line here across the bottom. It's coming out a little bit more intensely than I wanted, but that's okay because I've got my water brush here and I can spread that ink and just bring that up for that ombre look. Okay, I'm going to continue to color this, but speed up this video so that you don't have to watch the intense part of it, but you can see how this comes together here with the ombre shimmer brush paint. Okay, and there we have it. I think you saw that my shimmer brush blew up a little bit on my fingers. That's because I was laying it down flat instead of storing it upright. But there's the ombre look that I was going for with a little bit of shimmer. Now you could also do this with your re-inker or just using the top of your ink pad by squeezing this down and then grabbing ink from there as well. I just thought a fun variation with my paintbrush here. Okay, the two things that we have learned so far are stenciling and making an ombre look with our stencil, as well as painting with the shimmer brush and making an ombre look with our shimmer brush by mixing it with a little bit of clear shimmer brush and a spritz of water. So now it's time to put this card together. So I have a Journey piece of cardstock that I cut 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And let's just add that to my card base like this. And then I'm just going to take this piece that I stenciled, a little on both sides, and add that, leaving 1/8 of an inch all the way around the edges with that. I did take a break and go wash my hands so that I would not get shimmer brush all over my card front. Now I have a second image that I cut with the die cut that fits that It's Your Birthday sentiment. I cut this out of Journey and I'm going to add that straight to my card and find the middle and then just offset it just a hair to the left. And the reason I'm doing that is I'm creating this shadow effect that you can see right behind, and it just kind of helps pop that up a little bit more with the foam tape. That kind of also increases that shadowy effect that I'm going for. I like to use the thin 3D foam tape, especially if I'm mailing cards. It's not as thick, but also it's just a personal preference of mine. I know that others like the thicker, and some people really enjoy using a variety of thicknesses, the regular and the thin, on their cards and scrapbook pages. So now what I want to do is I just want to create a light or narrow shadow behind this. So I'm going to offset this ever so lightly so that I have a little bit going on here, and then I'm also a little bit up so I have some going on across here as well. And that just helps create that extra bit of shadow effect. Finally, I'm going to take my cupcake and I'm going to ink that up. Let me bring my foam pad in front here. I'm going to ink that up with a little bit of my Journey ink and give that firm pressure. Hold it so it can absorb the ink and pop that off. I'm also going to pop it up, but because the candle part itself is going to be on top of my birthday as I overlapped it there. I'm really just going to pop up the bottom part and put a little tape on this candle part so that it's not too many different layers. And this stamp set has several different cute cupcake ideas. I chose this for this, or cupcake images. I chose this for this particular one, but you definitely have options. And then I'm going to use my clear shimmer brush, and ever so lightly, because ink or too much liquid, I'm going to add some shimmer to the top of that cupcake on the frosting. So it's there, but it's light. And then finally, I love these journey dots. They're all the same color. We have other dots that are a variety of colors, but they also come in 3 different sizes, which helps with your embellishments because you want different sizes, different textures on your card, and you want trios. So I'm going to pick my largest size and going to add that up there, and then one of these smaller ones and add it down here. And then finally, I'm going to take one of these medium ones and give it a spot right there. And that is my birthday card. I hope you learned something new here today. If you did and you enjoy watching videos with new techniques, please subscribe to my channel and share this video with others. Also, it's helpful if you comment below and let me know what you enjoyed and what you would like to see in the future. Thank you.